So while we're waiting for Android 16 to arrive on Pixel phones, Samsung's dropped their very first One UI 8 beta, which is based upon Android 16, and while it might not be as monumental, at least to me, as One UI 7, there are some nice little changes here. So yeah, let's dive into these and give you a little bit of the idea of what the changelog is bringing to the table. Before I know, if you want more Android content, news, opinions, and deeper dives into One UI, then stick around, hit subscribe, and join the crew. I'd really love to have you as part of the team. So I want to get some of these big ticket items out of the way early, because this One UI, or at least this early version of One UI 8, has a lot of little changes that make some sense. Some of them don't make too much sense. Visually, this is not much of a change as well. So yeah, let's get these big tickets item out of the way, because some of them, like I say, they're a little bit important. And the first of those is an update to the quick share function, as it now actually has a revamped interface with the dedicated send and receive tabs. I really like this. I think it looks really smart. You can easily select files to send through this new menu, which I think offers an alternative to that standard sharing functionality or the sharing options that you have with Quick Share. This update is actually expected to roll out to all Android devices via a Google-backed Quick Share update in the coming weeks, but yeah, it looks like One UI 8 is the first to come with it. On top of that, the Now bar, which I think is a really cool function, although it is a little bit limited in its what you can do currently in Android 15, has a new, neat, or at least a few neat new tricks, including better support for things like device status, calls, and at least in theory, or I'm hoping that it will integrate further with live activities that is coming with the full Android 16 update. Not many apps actually support live activities yet, but I am hopeful that the Now bar will keep improving, as it's one of those things in One UI 7 I really like, but it's just a little bit dull, or it's a little bit staid in terms of its actual integrations across the board. The Files application, or the My Files application, has also received a minor but helpful update here in One UI 8.0, at least this beta version. Categories now set at the top of the application, and a new Files added recently row gives you quick previews of recently created or downloaded files, so you can quickly access them, get access to them, and send them on, or do whatever you need to do with those files. The Weather application, this has received another refresh. I think it was refreshed in One UI 7, and it's been refreshed once again with more realistic visuals and at least people within this application to depict the weather conditions on your phone or your local conditions. Plus, on top of that, you might notice there are some translucent UI elements across the various cards that are shown here. Visually, I do think it's a lot nicer, and it's a nice little refresh, at least from the One UI 7 refresh that we saw last year. And I will say I'm not really an evangelist for the Samsung Internet application. I don't think it's very good personally, because I think Chrome is a lot better in every single regard, and there are lots of other options that are better than Samsung Internet. That said, the application does have an updated design here, mainly impacting areas like the overflow shortcuts menu. This just makes sharing simpler and allows for greater customization of your shortcuts if you have them. It's a nice touch if you prefer this over other browsers, but I do still recommend better options out there from other application developers, Chrome, Google, whatever it needs to be. Go out there and try some other browsers, that's all I'm saying. Multitasking is also getting even better, because One UI 8.0, at least this beta version, adds support for a 90-10 split for applications when you view them in split screen mode. This is a really clever feature that, on top of that, it lets you tap part of the display to quickly switch between the applications, much like the Open Canvas feature on OnePlus devices and Oxygen OS. While Google is actually rumored to bring this functionality to Android 16, it's not yet live on Pixel devices. It's only appearing in leak builds, so it's nice to see this in action already on Samsung phones running this first beta of their own version of Android 16. A couple of biggish changes for the Reminder and Calendar apps. I think these are tied together, which is why I've linked them. Firstly, the Reminder app has undergone some significant changes, including new categories and suggested reminders that I'm not actually sure, or at least I'm not sure how it pulls the information. It's probably some sort of AI, or it actually watches what you do on the phone and then works out what you're going to be using them for. You can just start typing into the box as well now in the bottom row to get suggestions for reminders themselves, or you can use the text box. It's found there just beneath there. You can just be really lazy on top of that and use the sample reminders and templates to get those added if you want to. Yeah, it's a really quick way to add reminders to your phone if you need them. On top of that, the Samsung Calendar application, if you use this, lets you create and manage reminders from directly in the application itself, which is a lot better, I think, for organization. So when you add in an event, a quick menu will give you suggestions for the event as well, based upon the names and times, based upon past events that you may have had, which allows you to just create these without extra typing. If you want to change reminders as well, you can drag them around and place them on the calendar itself where they make more sense to you. I think this is a really nice touch for actual speed of getting yourself organized. Like I say, it's treated like a planner. Seems a really good way to use this. As always, Samsung has provided a comprehensive changelog with this One UI 8 beta update. There are a few highlights that we can get into. I'm not going to cover absolutely everything, as there are a few things that I don't think make a lot of sense, but I'm just going to go over the few big additions. We'll do a deeper dive on the stable update launches, as it will have a full changelog of every single individual change. At least, hopefully, that stable update will arrive in a few weeks for lots of other Samsung Galaxy phones. So one of the most important, I think, is for Samsung DeX, and there's a lot of people who really love this functionality. It offers now more options when you connect it to an external monitor TV, including optimizing display resolutions up to WQHD and rotation of your display by 90, 180 or 270 degrees. I think something that will be really helpful depending on the orientation of your external display. Yeah, it should support more displays. That's effectively what this change means. There's also some new preset routines that are available for weather and other advanced options. I guess this is local condition choosing, or whatever you want to call it. You can use them as they actually are, or you can customize them to fit your needs, which I think gives you even more flexibility for what is already a really powerful feature. And on top of that, new actions are available for pulling data from the clock application, the calendar, and the Samsung Note apps. Once data is obtained, you can use it in other conditions or actions within your routine, which, on top of what I just mentioned, is yet another powerful add-on for what is probably one of the most powerful options in One UI if you know how to use it. So I'm not a huge proponent of the Samsung Health app in a lot of ways, although it is free and I think it is fairly feature-rich, but there are some new features here in Android 16. So in addition to the step challenges, you can challenge friends to see who can run or walk specific distances, or cover a certain amount of ground the fastest, like 50 kilometers, for instance, or whatever you want to do. There's a lot of challenges here on top of that. You can use this to really gamify the Samsung Health application. But one of the biggest and most important ones, I think, is the new food recording reminders, which should ping you to help you stay on track with calorie goals and set reminders to record your food intake within the Samsung Health application. I think that might mean, or at least for a lot of people out there, it might mean you're not having to use external applications like MyFitnessPal if you are tracking calories. So yeah, another nice free addition to the Samsung Health application. There are some improved profile cards here in One UI 8 that let you edit your profile card, or at least adjust it for that perfect layout of your name and your picture. And once you create it, you can share this profile card so that others can see it when you call them, when you contact them. I like this option. I think it's cool, but it's only really useful if the person you're calling has a Samsung phone. So yeah, it's limited, but again, nice options that I like to have as part of One UI. And although I'm not someone who records calls very often, this recorded calls section now appears on the contact history screen so that you can quickly review and replay these recordings if you do need them, likely saving a bit of time if you use this often. Like I say, I don't use this, but it is a nice feature baked into One UI, which is, again, something that Samsung likes to do, like to throw the kitchen sink at you and give you options on the fly. The camera, well, this is one area where we usually see a lot of changes, but there were only a few tiny changes this time around, including improved swipe controls that let you access quick controls in the camera section itself, the camera modes, that kind of stuff. You can do this by swiping up or down anywhere within the actual camera preview or the output area. The in-camera settings, you can change these too, so that the swipe up and swipe down options will do what you tell them to do or what you want them to do. Yeah, it's another option, but this is already a feature-rich application anyway. One UI 8 also has a couple of updates to the secure folder function to hide applications and even prevent notifications when you're locked, but you can actually completely hide and encrypt that secure folder for extra protection with your on-device sensitive files. And I think this is one of the quietest but neatest little additions personally, as hey, I get stuff under embargo all the time, and I think for me, safety is a top priority. So yeah, extra layers of security, always nice on my devices. This update also includes a few accessibility features that I do think need highlighting, because I really do love this when brands think of this, as it shows that they're at least trying to care about people using their products. And accessibility is something that I think in general we all need to be a little bit better at. So when you are using the assistant menu, that offers more ways to zoom in and out. In addition to dragging with one finger, you can adjust the zoom level by pressing buttons on the screen as well for extra accessibility. But on top of that, you're now also able to magnify your keyboard if you're using your on-screen keyboard, so it makes those on-screen keyboard keys larger, a bit easier viewing and tapping. There's also an improved pairing with Bluetooth hearing aids now in One UI 8 within the hearing aid support screen in accessibility settings. It might be easier for some to or at least it might be an easier or more obvious place for people to pair with these devices. Yeah, a little bit easier than just going to the Bluetooth option and hoping to find your hearing aid amongst a huge array of other Bluetooth accessories. I'm just sticking with audio for a second. There is also now better options or better connection options for Auracast. Basically, Auracast lets you broadcast audio from one device to multiple streaming devices at the same time. Connecting to Auracast broadcasts is a lot easier now because you can just scan a QR code. You can also generate a QR code to let others connect to your broadcast. Yeah, there aren't that many headphones out there that allow you to do this, but again, if it's available, it's easier than it ever was before. And finally, in One UI 8, there is enhanced alarm groups so that you can add existing alarms to alarm groups by tapping that plus button on the alarm group screen. You can also add an alarm group to a home screen widget to turn on all alarms in that group on or off with a single tap. Neat if you want better alarm organization and categorization, and yeah, it's on your home screen, just means you can turn them all off in one go, turn them on again if you do need access to them quickly. As I say, that isn't quite everything in this first One UI 8 beta, but let's be honest, I think it's probably a little bit more than you expected right out the gate, as Android 16 on Pixel devices was a lot smaller, and it is going to be a lot smaller when that does eventually launch. I think it's a lot more than I thought it would be. The visuals, they're not necessarily changed at all. They're identical to what they are in One UI 7, which I got to say I've got no problem with, as I do think that was a super update in its own right, and to me it's a toss-up between this One UI and Oxygen OS for my favourite Android skin, at least of 2025 so far. Let me know what you think down in the comment sections below though. It's always interesting to hear what you think, especially if you're a Samsung fan or even a Pixel fan looking at this and wondering where these features are on Pixel phones. I'm excited to see this develop, but yeah, cheers for watching, and yeah, I'll speak to you later.